So after watching the debate with Biden and Trump, um, I gotta say it was quite depressing, seeing that these are our candidates. I watched the whole debate, and then afterwards I watched some fact-checking videos on not just Trump, which is expected to speak a bunch of bullshit all the time, but also on Biden and how he got facts wrong too. And I understand that, when you're talking extemporaneously, it's a lot easier to get things wrong. But yet again, the bar should be quite high because we're talking about the president of the United States, and in one of them, they're both old, quite frankly. But one of them wasn't really able to be coherent the whole time. I mean, I have trouble being coherent at my age, just below 30, and Biden was having a hell of a time with many of the things that he was saying to even get it out. And Trump was more coherent, but he also lied more and essentially gave you nonsense answers. If he even answered the question that he was uh, asked, which he didn't typically do. Um, so that's our two candidates, and then not only that, but they kick out RFK Jr. Um, because they don't want him participating in the debate. So there goes democracy, is as far as I understand it, because isn't it supposed to let people hear um, different perspectives and to encourage debate, is as far as I'm understanding what it's supposed to be. I mean, that is what it means, is it not? Maybe I'm just ignorant about that, but if you get rid of RFK from the debate, you get rid of Jill Stein from the debate, both of which I watched their coverage of the debate, and they were much more cogent. I thought they were much more with it and together than either of the candidates. But instead, we have this consolidated power around Trump and Biden, and the mainstream media kind of acts as if these are the only possible candidates that we could have. And they're the only ones that anyone is going to take seriously. But the thing is, like, I feel like the public would actually take much more seriously RFK Jr. or Jill Stein. Personally, I like Jill Stein the best. Um, Once they just have a certain level of momentum, because many people don't even consider voting for this or that candidate because they don't think they could have any potential chance of winning, even if they agree with them. So when you get to like the 5% polling, which is around where those two candidates are, um, and it's very small polling and very small numbers, um, it seems like it's not feasible for them to possibly win, which as a result compounds the problem because it's a feedback loop. So the more people who think they can't win, the less people who will vote for them, and then the less people who vote for them, the more people will think that they can't win, and it just goes on and on and on. When really, these people would probably have much more support than they currently do if people just thought they were legitimate candidates, which is what um, the Democratic and Republican parties have going for them, um, because they're considered legitimate candidates, and people think that, well, this is the only game in town, so I have to pick the lesser of the two evils. But I guess that's the biggest shame of it all in our political system, is that you feel forced to pick the lesser of the two evils as opposed to actually picking someone who even remotely uh, represents your viewpoint. Um, Personally, where I'm coming from, I would say uh, Biden, if I had to pick between the two, Biden and Trump, I suppose Biden would represent my viewpoint more, but how much more? It is difficult to say because I can find points of agreement with each party. So then, as a result, if you have a winner takes all system, then invariably you're not going to be very well represented, um, which is the irony of a democratic system, because at least one like ours, because if it's elected by the people, which I would argue it really isn't at this point, um, I feel like we have more of an oligarchy, if anything, assuming I'm not getting these terms wrong. Um, anyway, if it's elected by the people, which is what it's trying to do, then you should feel represented. Um, but in reality, you're only getting represented by a minor fraction of your viewpoints. And then you have to just kind of take along for the ride all of the other things that you disagree with. So, like, if I agree with abortion rights, then I also, the only party that's going to let me do that is the Democratic Party. And then it would also mean that I have to take along for the ride and marry uh, all of the other things that they stand for now, like supporting the wars, which I don't really want to do because we're constantly in wars and we have to pay for them, as far as I'm aware, the American taxpayer, and I'd rather not. So it just seems like it's very hard to win in a system like this, and it's very difficult to see how anyone would feel very positive about the political landscape when looking at our choice of leadership is really just disappointing. It's not as if I completely disagree with Trump or completely disagree with Biden on every single thing, but I don't know about you who's listening to this, but I don't feel very well represented by either of these candidates. I feel better represented by Jill Stein. That would be my preferred candidate so far. But even then, I'm sure there are points of disagreement there. I don't know how to design a system that's better than our system or anything like that. But I just wanted to comment on how people like me, I don't know how much I represent the average voter, but find it very difficult to even want to participate because you just feel like the battle is lost and it's been lost for a very long time.